because the next part of the program and what we all have been waiting for. We've titled it Regulators in Dialogue, and this is what's going to happen right now. So we have René Jansen and Mrs. Wierzejewski, please come to the stage, together with Birgitte, former Executive Director of the Danish Gambling Authority. It is quite a bit of regulatory experience on stage, and I personally am very eager to hear what kind of lessons we can learn from them. Birgitte, as the moderator of this conversation, the floor is all yours. Can you sit here, please?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
So lovely to see many familiar faces and new ones as well. So this is a lovely opportunity to get an overview of the latest stuff. And so I have the great honor and pleasure to moderate a brief panel with our two keynote speakers that have just been on stage and shared with us some background from both of your countries, and also what's actually happening right now. And I'm not to offend you, René, but I'm particularly happy that we have the pleasure of meeting you, Nadja, and stepping in for Mr. Swanke. So we missed out on Swanke, but we gained you. So very welcome to you, but of course also to you, René.
I feel fine. I feel fine. Thank you.
Always lovely to see you. So we're going to dig deeper into what the two of you could actually share if you exchanged here on stage. So we have René, who's been at it for a year, and of course before then preparing the opening of the market in the Netherlands, and you just getting really started and ready to take the full responsibility on a federal level. So I would very much like to turn to you first, Nadja. So you gave us a background for what has been going on in Germany, quite complex developments. And most recently, you shared with us also that you're actually getting quite ready to go. You have staff on board. You are facing also, you're ready, and you do already do some enforcement. So would you like to share with us a little bit more about your experiences so far, building an authority and getting ready?
Ja, also im Augenblick bei der GGL gibt es bereits einen operativen Bereich, der sich mit der Bekämpfung des illegalen Glücksspiels im Internet beschäftigt. Das unterteilt sich in 4 verschiedene Bereiche. Zum einen ist es da die konkrete Untersagung illegalen Glücksspiels. Diesen Part haben wir vom Landesverwaltungsamt übernommen. Da sind wir schon in über 100 Verfahren tätig. Das Gleiche gilt auch die Bekämpfung für Werbung für unerlaubtes Glücksspiel im Internet, wobei wir da nicht nur die Bewerbung im Internet zu unserem Zuständigkeitsbereich haben, sondern auch die terrestrische Werbung für unerlaubtes Glücksspiel im Internet gehört zu uns. Das wird dann nochmal eine Herausforderung sein, weil die ja überall in Deutschland stattfinden kann. Und was Neues, was schon angesprochen worden ist, wir sind auch in der Lage, jetzt Zahlungsunterbindungen vorzunehmen und Netzsperren zu veranlassen gegen die Netzbetreiber. Und das ist etwas, was, so wie wir es vorhaben, bisher in der Vergangenheit nicht passiert ist. Und das wird spannend und ich hoffe, dass ich die Erfahrung, die ich 2008 beim Aufbau der Glücksspielaufsicht in Rheinland-Pfalz gesammelt habe, hier einbringen kann, damit wir noch ein bisschen schneller sind und unsere Ziele schneller erreichen können.
Right. So, René, please, you shared with us the bombardment of advertising that you have seen in the Netherlands. Any particular advice on how to deal with that? Is it all on the shoulders of the regulator, or do you have to actually discuss with politicians and actually share with them what they should be considering? you are facing some adjustments, some further restrictions in the Netherlands. Do you believe that Germany will go down the same road?
I'm not quite sure whether the situation in the Netherlands is really the same as the starting position in Germany, because I think sports betting, advertising has been legalized before. And we had our opening market opening in the 1st of October. It was the moment, the first online gambling of what kind of form of gambling was possible. And so we saw a really huge, everybody was fighting for market position, market share, new entrants, all new entrants. We did not have any rules on the volume of advertising, which if we look back might have been better. I don't know how to do it, but it might have been better. The reflections from the industry and intervening from industry themselves, that was really too little too late. Because there was, in the first 2-3 months, there was lots of annoyance, and all politicians who were really not that happy with the legalization and the regulation of online gambling saw it as a means of keeping it as small as possible, so to say. So that was the moment already in December 2021 and January 2021, when there were some parliamentary motions pushing the government to have stricter rules on advertising. And the first one, as I said, was abolishing the idea of the possibility of using celebrities in advertising, like former football players, as an example, or people from some other broadcast celebrities. And the Min is now working on what I call a ban of untargeted advertising, whatever that may be precisely. That is one of the legal challenges he's facing now. How is he defining it? How is he restricting it? And how will it be if it is opposed in court by operators who are not that happy with those bans because they were not allowed to enter the market in the first batch? And so it has quite some effect on competition.
Right. So, Nadja, turning to you again. So advertising clearly is a very complex issue.
Yeah.
So apart from advertising issues, all in all, fighting illegal gambling offerings is obviously a huge thing that all the legal licensees expect you to take on. Do you feel well prepared to make sure that they have a level playing field, those that actually get a license in Germany?
Also eine Lizenz, also eine Erlaubnis für Online-Glücksspiele können nur die erhalten, die Anbieter, die natürlich auch bereit sind, sich an die Regeln zu halten. Also wer nicht bereit ist, sich an die Regeln, die wir haben, zu halten, der kann auch keine Lizenz bekommen. Der ist dann in meinem Zuständigkeitsbereich und wird dann untersagt und vom Markt genommen, weil das nicht geht. Der Markt ist für die da, die bereit sind, sich an die Regeln zu halten. Das gilt für die Werbung, aber das gilt halt auch für die Fragen des Spielerschutzes und des Jugendschutzes.
And do you feel that you have the powers you need to actually be able to take down illegal gambling offerings?
Also von der Auswahl an Möglichkeiten, die wir haben, denke ich, stehen wir sehr gut da. Also wir haben nicht nur das, was man früher hatte, die Untersagungsverfügung und das Zwangsgeld, was teilweise ja schwer umzusetzen war. Wir haben jetzt auch die Strafverfolgungsbehörden, die stärker mit uns zusammenarbeiten wollen, also eine Unterstützung, die wir in 14 Jahren nicht hatten, die jetzt dazu kommt. Hinzu kommen die neuen Instrumente sozusagen, Zahlungsunterbindung und Netzsperren. Und ich denke, wenn man diesen wunderschönen Strauß an Möglichkeiten gebündelt, zielgerichtet einsetzt, dann kann man eine ganze Menge erreichen.
And I have to ask, because we are surrounded by sanctions and fines that just go one way and that's up. So we just listened today to Jörg Hoffmann mentioning day fines from Norway. So are you a strong believer in the larger fines, the better? Or is that just one of many tools that are important?
Es gibt ganz viele Instrumente, also wie ich ja sagte, Zwangsgelder, Bußgelder, die Strafverfolgungsbehörden, die mit Strafverfahren 284, also illegales Glücksspiel, arbeiten und dann natürlich auch noch ich nenne es immer den indirekten Weg, nicht, dass man zielgerichtet gegen die Glücksspielanbieter vorgeht, sondern dass man halt dann das Netz sperrt oder die Zahlungsströme unterbindet, weil Glücksspielanbieter, legal wie illegale, tun das, um Geld zu verdienen. Und wenn sie damit kein Geld mehr verdienen, weil nichts ankommt oder es inzwischen so teuer ist, dass es sich nicht mehr wirtschaftlich rechnet, die gehen vom Markt.
And René, you talked about trust and you talked about collaboration and exchange of knowledge and views between regulators. So, and you invited Germany, as I heard you, also look into GREF, especially having also a working group on enforcement. But all in all, please share with us your views on exchange of knowledge with other regulators. Should Germany do the same as you've been doing?
Everybody has to act according to its own legislation. And we all know that Europe has all that many different regulatory schemes, from the monopoly in Norway and Finland to the more liberal systems like in the UK or Malta. And I think because Germany and the Netherlands are quite late with legalizing, we have of course, a federal state. It has its own peculiar sides, and we are a small country. I think our economy is something like North Rhine-Westphalia or something to compare it to. But we all have a high level of player protection, consumer protection, compared to the older legislation. What we see, and what I see also in GREF, but there is a certain consensus growing in Europe and a soft convergence toward a high level of consumer protection. Anti-money laundering, of course, is something new, higher fines, and joining forces as possible to combat illegality. And we do that. We have several memoranda of understanding. We have them with several jurisdictions like the UK, like Malta, like Sweden, France, Belgium. And I think it's very useful and very important to share our experiences in a work group enforcement of GREF. And we have, I think now, some 43 members out of 34 jurisdictions. So that includes also the Isle of Man and Gibraltar and other places, but also the new Eastern European countries. And I think that is very possible, because that is also, we're not aiming at getting those legislations together, because we are not legislators, but we want, within our powers, we want to join forces and learn from each other. And I think we making important steps on that front. For example, our experiences in IP blocking, which might be interesting in the Netherlands in the near future. We are not allowed to do it now, but who knows in the future.
So turning to you, Nadja, obviously there's a lot of knowledge, do's and don'ts, between regulators already being shared, and of course you're part of that sharing. I believe Germany has always been very welcome to join everything there. So that is one thing. But what about the decision making within your own authority? Do you feel that you will be able to make some autonomous decisions? Because you have a board of directors, as I understand, are going to have, right? Will they sort of be interfering in your daily working life decisions, or can you feel strong about sort of like also doing your own decisions when needed? We heard about Mark Ellinger talking about speed is important. So can you deliver the speed that everybody is wanting to see?
Ja. Also wir werden definitiv schneller sein, als wir jetzt sind, weil das Konstrukt, was vorhin schon angeklungen ist, dass im Augenblick jede Erlaubnisentscheidung ja erstmal vom Landesverwaltungsamt über das Glücksspielkollegium geht, dann wieder zurück, dann umgesetzt werden kann, das haben wir nicht. Die GGL wird entscheiden. Selbstverständlich, wie Sie schon sagten, wir haben einen Vorstand und wir haben einen Verwaltungsrat, aber der Verwaltungsrat ist kein Glücksspielkollegium. Unser Maßstab ist der Glücksspielstaatsvertrag. Das sind die Leitplanken, in denen wir uns bewegen und in denen wir unsere Arbeit machen. Und ich gehe nicht davon aus, dass der Vorstand sich in das operative Geschäft, das tägliche Geschäft, in jede Kleinigkeit einbinden soll. Dafür haben Sie mich. Ich bin dafür da, zu sorgen, dass das illegale Glücksspiel unterbunden wird, und das will ich tun.
So, is it all on the shoulders of the regulators always to make sure that the market and everything works well? Or do you expect industry to support you in actually combating the illegal offerings out there? Do they have a huge responsibility as well for making a German market regulation successful? Nadja.
Also die Verantwortung und Zuständigkeit liegt bei der Regulierungsbehörde. Aber natürlich sind wir auf eine Zusammenarbeit ja nicht direkt angewiesen, aber sie erleichtert uns das Leben. Weil die legalen Anbieter möchten, dass wir die Illegalen vom Markt nehmen, damit auf dem Markt nur noch legale Anbieter sind. Das ist auch das, was die Regulierungsbehörde möchte. Und es gibt immer Sachen, die man als Regulierer nicht sieht, weil man aus einer ganz anderen Blickrichtung kommt. Und da finde ich es sehr wichtig, wenn man den Austausch mit den Anbietern durchführen kann und die Möglichkeit hat, die Angelegenheit auch von einem anderen Blickwinkel zu sehen, weil nur so kann man sich ein ganz umfassendes Bild machen und auch wirklich problembezogene und maßgeschneiderte Lösungen zu finden.
So without putting words in your mouth, did I hear you say that you're absolutely positive in involving all relevant stakeholders to actually have a dialogue about issues?
Ja, also ich würde das gerne so weiterführen. Ich habe in der Vergangenheit immer den Austausch gesucht, weil ich bin nicht allwissend. Und von daher ist das wichtig, sich auch mit den Akteuren, die gemeinsam sind, auszutauschen. Was nicht bedeutet, dass die Aufsichtsbehörde das macht, was die Anbieter möchten. Unsere Vorgaben ist der Glücksspielstaatsvertrag. Aber wie wir das umsetzen, ob ich nun linksrum oder rechtsrum gehe, wenn ich an das richtige Ziel komme, kann man das durchaus so machen, dass man spricht und den besseren Weg für beide Seiten findet.
So, ladies and gentlemen, now it's your turn. So if anyone has preferably a great question, but it could just be an ordinary question as well, please come forward.
Yes, just going forward to assist with this, because we are getting some questions in the Slido app, as you've all done. You can also raise your hand and we see if there's sufficient time to answer your question in person. But let's first go to one question out of Slido. If we can have the first one on the screen, please. Is there an indication that the authority, the GGL, will use the testing labs to test casino games instead of approving each game themselves? It's a very technical, operational question, I guess, but I think it's something that we've heard more.
Ich habe schon verstanden. Ja. Das ist eine Frage, die den Lizenzierungsbereich betrifft, und ich stehe hier für die Bekämpfung illegalen Glücksspiels. Deshalb kann ich Ihnen leider nicht sagen, wie die GGL das ab 1.1. machen wird.
Hopefully to be followed up in one of our webinars or newsletters. Look at the second question from the audience here in Slido. Again, if you want to go to slido.com, you can also look at existing questions and upvote them. If you upvote them, they will be more visible. And let's look at the second question, please. Do we have a second question? I'm sure we have a second question. It's in a pipeline. If not, yes,
Yeah,
here.
there it is.
That's a good question here. So, what is the target, the objective of the channelization rate in terms of revenue? So, which part of the revenue do you think could be in the license market in, I'm guessing the medium term is what this person trying to ask, 3 years. Is that something you can share with us?
Also wenn es darum geht, wie verteilt sich der Umsatz zwischen dem legalen und dem illegalen Markt, ist das für mich ganz einfach. Im legalen Markt 100% und im illegalen 0%.
Okay. Excellent.
Das ist der Anspruch.
Excellent. Let's go through the third question. Again, if there's any questions from the room, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. This is your chance to get an answer you've been thinking about maybe for a long time. Then we have a third question from Slido. Why is the monthly limit based on only a deposit but not on a loss limit? And then I guess a sub-question, why are the withdrawals not deducted from the deposit limit? That's maybe a very technical question, but the first question, please.
Gute Frage. Das ist aber etwas, was Sie den Gesetzgeber fragen müssen. Wir sind die Behörde, die das Gesetz anwendet. Wir sind nicht die Behörde, die das Gesetz macht. Das Gesetz macht der Gesetzgeber, in diesem Fall alle 16 Bundesländer.
Completely agree. I think we should leave it at this unless there's a question from a room. We still have microphones available for you. Please stay on the stage for a moment, all participants. Thank you for this fantastic and enlightening discussion. It is super helpful to have some true experts sharing their thoughts on a stage. We've had the questions. We're now ready for the coffee break, but not before thanking the excellent speakers and panelists for their sharing openly of their expertise. Thank you very much.
Jetzt hat sich's verraten.